You know, the funny thing was, it was risque at the time. You know, there's a bit of and a couple of things that made it at the time edgy. Yeah, I don't think I would have been allowed to watch the original when it came out. You know, like I might have been about 4 years old actually. Well, you know, a lot of people today are probably, they think about Death Race and they think of Jason Statham or Luke Goss, you know, in the recent remakes. But it's a film that was created by a guy called Roger Corman. He also created the very first Fast and the Furious. You know, his one was called The Fast and the Furious, and then the new franchise was called Fast and the Furious. And he also created Grand Theft Auto. When I first heard the name, I automatically thought, oh, I'm going to, you know, be stepping into, you know, into the more modern thematic. But then we suddenly had the discussion about how it was a remake of the '70s film. And you know, of course, that period had a certain style to it, you know, kind of a psychedelic, sexy kind of '70s thing, you know, and that's where the premise of this comes from. You know, fans are going to expect me to sort of be like, you know, because they've said to me, oh, you're going to play, oh, Jason Statham did a good job, eh? And so they're going to expect me to be kind of like in this Mad Max, breaking out of prison kind of thing, but it's not. It's more like the '70s film was more like a Cannonball Run meets, you know, meets Rocky Horror Show. Well, the funny thing was I never got to work with Malcolm. You know, there was only one scene that we were going to be in, was where we shook hands. And I went there and shot all my stuff, and then I think Malcolm was on something, and then came sort of the week after I left. And so there's one scene, but you know, the thing that bothers me is that the one scene where Frankenstein shakes hands with Malcolm McDowell's character as the chairman, you know, it's not me. And it's the first time you see Frankenstein. And when I watch it, I know there was some poor guy they dragged out of the studio and said, here, throw this on and go in and shake Malcolm McDowell's hand, because the guy's kind of like, and that's not my physicality, you know, so it's funny. Yeah, you can look at that scene, and that's a spoiler alert, but that ain't me. The biggest challenge was the outfit that I wore, the leather suit. Because, you know, like in the original movie, David Carradine had like this stretch lycra. It was kind of, it was very sexual. It was a sexual orientated outfit. It was almost like a dominatrix stretch leather, and I asked whether I could get one of those. So they sort of combined that with Mad Max's outfit. So I end up with this kind of leather buckled kind of thing, but it's all just one piece and tight. But that was hot, bro. That was like, you know, it was like 110 in Lima, and like Frankenstein's really burning, you know, like in this storyline. He's got a furnace inside of him that's just burning, and somehow that heat's got to escape. So that was the metaphor, brother. I was just sitting there sweating my ass off. But I used it, you know. GJ was going, you okay in there? I said, yeah, let's just use it, you know. I was just sweating, and when I ripped off my helmet, the makeup girl was like, ah, his hair's all over the place, and he's like, can't see, you know. I was like, don't worry about it, let's just go with this, and we just went with it. Yeah. Death Race 2050 is going to be released in January on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital HD.